I feel that socialism and eventually communism is a way of economic stability for the poor people. The majority of the people are the working class citizens of America who are in the lowest class. They make up the most of us throughout the world. I'm not talking about just from the United States perspective. Even here in the States, I'm pretty sure that the poor people make up a large amount. And by poor, I mean people that make less than $275,000 a year. People that do not own any land who are having to pay for their land over an extended period of time. So if you have an inheritance or a pretty decent amount of income, you do not account for this. This is messages aimed towards all the people who have to live paycheck to paycheck, who grew up in impoverished neighborhoods, who are victims of having a criminal background to prevent them from getting jobs, so they're caught in a cycle of illegal activity or working minimum wage jobs in order to survive and support their family. This message goes out to all the mothers on welfare and cash assistance, and all the people who are homeless, who are on food stamps, who are just struggling really bad, who never had an inheritance or never really had the real good opportunity in order to make something for themselves. There was a time in America where capitalism wasn't so bad. And I'm going to read the definitions of capitalism and socialism and communism for people who just don't really know what they are. Okay, capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. Okay. Socialism, a political and economic theory of social organization that advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by a community as a whole. Okay. And communism, a way of organizing a society in which the government owns the things that are used to make and transport products, such as land, oil, factories, ships, and etc. There is no privately owned property. I like that one. And there's a reason why I like that one so much. But now, some people will argue and say that, well, in a capitalist society, everybody has a chance to become financially sustainable and have a substantial amount of income and huge capital gains, and that you don't have to worry about the government coming and taking your money. That sounds cool and that's understandable, except for that allows the threshold for greed and materialism to be low when you are wealthy, to a point where you can buy things that just don't make no fucking sense, like a $68 million jet craft that your church congregation paid for, or, going to Thailand or going to the Caribbean and buying young children underage to do whatever the fuck you want to do with, or getting involved in the black market, going overseas and finding drugs to just get extra money or fund whatever the fuck kind of campaign you got going on for real. It comes to a point where you can end up having wealth and become untouchable. And yes, the law. Excuse me, I have something on my tongue. I'm sorry. Anyway, the law is supposed to be there to protect us, but it's not. It's not protecting us from them. These wealthy people, oftentimes get away with a lot of shit because they have the legal defense available, or they have the monetary influence over somebody. Bribery, the power that they have over political influences is enough to shake the foundation of a whole police fucking jurisdiction. It happens. Trust and believe. Um, I remember going to school with some people from my area. I reside in the state of Maryland, and this state has a pretty good amount of people who fit in that bracket that are wealthy. Um, we actually have one of the wealthiest populations in America. This is found here. Um, but where I grew up, I remember I lived in an area that was low income. The whole freaking neighborhood was low income for the majority of them. And then you had the college kids who are obviously low income, most of them. So it was a well diverse neighborhood. But it was just poor. We was pretty poor. My mom received food stamps for a long time, even though her and her stepfather was working. So I remember going to school interacting with kids who obviously had it better than me. And the whole demeanor and attitude of a lot of these kids was way different. They had no sense of humility. There's being humble. They had no regard to anything or any type of perspective of a person who was financially limited, and it could be seen through their interactions to the teachers and other students. Like, they just did not care. They simply didn't care. They did what they wanted to do, and they knew that their parents had them backed up. They would get terrible grades, not give a fuck, not show up to school because they knew that their secondary education was going to be paid for. So tax dollars was essentially wasted on those kids for free daycare, even in high school. Like, I remember seeing some of these just drop out, and they still end up going to college. Whether it be community college or the local college we have here in this area. We have a couple of them actually. This is real shit, and happens probably all over America. Now, it's sad to know the contrast in things like how so much people have nothing and very few people have a lot. And we got motherfuckers arguing about how they're going to take the wealth away from them so that somebody else can have a fighting chance. It isn't about having what's yours taken away from you. It's about sharing. It's about humanity rising and coming up as a whole. So we could all rise up and evolve and become something greater than what we are now. Don't you think that if most people didn't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from, and a lot of these people here in America is receiving government assistance anyway, that they're crying about, where my tax dollars? Trust and believe. Trust and believe. If there was no poor people and there was no cash assistance, they were still gonna fucking take your tax money. So stop crying and bitching about that, would you? And this is an aim towards the average motherfucker. As far as the distribution of wealth, taking the money. No, I'm talking about the people who own these huge mega corporations. The Federal Reserve is a private organization. So with them and all their billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue that they get just off of us should be distributed. As a matter of fact, if you take the top 20 world's most wealthiest fucking peoples and distribute their wealth to everybody, I'm pretty sure they will still have enough left over to still live their fucking fancy ass lifestyle while we can use our shit to come up and invest in creating a better world. It's sad because this video is going to fall on deaf ears. Even to the ones that listen to it, it's going to be like, this motherfucker don't know what you're talking about. He obviously doesn't see. It's because your ass is fucking brainwashed. I grew up in America my whole life. And I grew up around capitalist economic theory about everything. That same capitalist economic theory gets motherfuckers put in jail because they is trying to provide a better means of life for their families. And then there's just some greedy motherfuckers that got it going good. They just want a whole bunch of extra fancy shit, so they sell drugs or do whatever scams, even cash scams, all that shit. Blue, what they call white collar crimes still gets done. If we can eliminate that desire for material things. Yes, human beings are material. We're materialistic creatures by nature. We can't help it. We've always been like that. But when you overemphasize the value of these material things and you have to spend money, hard-earned cash on this shit, that's a problem. It doesn't make sense when a young guy, teenage guy, that doesn't have any responsibilities besides paying whatever he has to pay for, like cell phone bill, spends his fucking whole little paycheck that he earns from his part-time job in fast food on 2 pairs of fucking shoes that cost 120 fucking bucks. That's materialism. Like, that is ridiculous. And not only is that materialism, but it's supporting the fucking greedy capitalist assholes that put these shoes on the market for this amount of price because they know people's going to pay for them. There is no way in hell that the shoes, that these Jordan shoes and all these high-ass expensive shoes, they don't cost anywhere near a third of what the fuck the price is for retail. That's ridiculous. So, that being said, let it marinate. Capitalism, everybody can do what the fuck they want with their money. Socialism, the state equally divides the money to everybody according to how they work and provides goods, it provides services. There's no health care, there's no need for applying for privatized nothing. And then you have communism, where all the land is owned by the state, so you don't never have to worry about being homeless, and then everybody works as a community to provide for theirs. So think about that. Peace.